If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe. And also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham.
Dude, someone should do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television.
It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
Something huge is coming. We're building the world's largest truther convention. It's called TrutherCon.
This is the place where truthers unite to explore knowledge, ask tough questions, to challenge the mainstream narrative.
But it isn't just a convention. It's a movement for free thought, open discussion, and the right to question everything.
We are bringing in some of the biggest names of the truther community, so expect deep discussions, mind-blowing revelations, and connections with like-minded truth seekers.
If you feel like the truth is being hidden from you, this is where you need to be.
And the best part, it's 100% grassroots, built by truthers for truthers, straight from our Skiba News Nation family. TrutherCon will be a massive networking event. I believe this is going to be the most exciting truther event ever.
October 2025 in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there. Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 136 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source to the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba. And as always, I'd like to introduce my co-host, awesome dude, Jake Grant. Welcome, Jake. What's up, man? We got some good current news today.
Yeah, we have a really interesting one. Now, we've gone through some really beautiful scenes all across America of people coming together, remembering the figure Charlie Kirk, as he represented freedom of speech. He represented wholesome family values, and politically and religiously the whole Western world, it seems like, coming together to celebrate his life. And while we covered that live this past Sunday, and we also had some on-the-ground reporting we did during the week at some other memorials, today we're going to get into a little bit more of the controversial and conspiratorial side of this whole thing. So for those of you who are not interested in covering really what this implicates when it comes to the New World Order, when it comes to things that really make this whole shooting reminiscent of JFK, and not only that, but a whole lot of other things are connecting to it. We have President Donald Trump giving a very interesting speech at the UN, and some of the things he said, and on the date he said them, right around the Feast of Trumpets. Very interesting timing, all of this coming together. So you're going to enjoy our segment today, Jeremiah.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. I mean, that's what we're all about, right? It's conspiracies and actually getting to the truth. And I even had to add to my TrutherCon. It's 1 month until TrutherCon, by the way, so get your tickets now. But I had to update my presentation because of the Charlie Kirk assassination, because there's so many parallels. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So let's get into it.
Now, guys, before I get into anything, of course, if you don't have your tickets to TrutherCon 2025 yet, go ahead and get them. Here is the official schedule coming up, subject to minor changes. However, this is what your day is going to look like. On October 25th, we're going to have Kay Podgy, Jeremiah, Gary Wayne, Dave Weiss, and we're going to have a massive special guest panel with even possibly some surprise visitors hopping up on there to answer and discuss your questions about all of the most cutting edge conspiracies. And then on October 26th, guess what? Lucas Cameron, Mike Jenny, Josh Keefe, Brother Theo, and to wrap it all up, a musical performance by Bryson Gray. And we're going to have so many awesome people there hanging out, vendors with super cool merch and books and things that you might not be able to find on Amazon, if you know what I mean. So anyways, guys, don't forget, get your tickets today at truthercon.com. All right, Jeremiah, you know, today I just want to set the stage with a couple memes to get us thinking properly, right? Remember, you weren't educated, you were programmed. They didn't teach you how to think. They taught you what not to question. Wow, you might have to drink some Mad Hatter tea to come up with the wording of that meme. It's kind of like a confusing one, right? But I mean, let's break it down, guys, right? Them. How big of a conspiracy theorist are you? Me. Since The Matrix was released in 1999, cell phones have been replacing landlines and payphones. The only way that they were shown how to get out of the Matrix. Jeremiah, this is the answer. There's no more payphones to get out of the Matrix. That's why we're all going through this. Oh, can you believe it? Well, that was the answer all along.
That's the one phone that you can't track. It's true.
There you go. Have you ever wondered, ladies and gentlemen, why they've called it the World Wide Web? 'Cause you get caught in it. Anyways, let's start off with some more of the positive coverage of the thousands attending Charlie's Memorial. Check this out.
Break a little bit of news on your program, Jesse. Our partners that do sort of geotagging with devices, they told us that they tracked over 277,000 devices in the vicinity of State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. 277,000. So that just gives you an idea of the scale of humanity out there. But I just want to give a hat tip and a major kudos to our team that pulled this off. They did an event that should have taken 6 months to plan in about 6 days. And it is a absolute testament to the leadership of Charlie Kirk and the type of people he surrounded himself with and the type of people that are still in this organization. They carry a piece of him with them, and they did the impossible, and they did it for Charlie. And it was amazing. And I think it was cathartic for all of us as we're grieving. And I think now there's a moment where, yes, we're going to march forward. We're going to make sure that this mission and this vision that is Turning Point grows and multiplies and thrives. We want a 10X it, Jesse, but I think there's a moment where, if I'm being honest with you, some of it is still hitting me just now.
And if you think of it this way, gentlemen, every single individual, whether conservative or liberal, who went to one of these events, your phone has just now been geotagged and tied to your personal, engagement in this whole topic, whether positive or negative, if you think about it. If you were a protester that was brave enough to go walk around with a sign, they had this data crunching your cell phone's real-time activity and location. Because Donald Trump, he escalated the tier of this particular event, tap into basically the Patriot Act and track everybody's phones. And so that to me is very interesting, because it's not always the thing you hear, it's what's being suggested. It's the underlying information that's being given. And while, oh yes, this, thousands attend this event, what you also hear in the same mouthful is that thousands of phones are being associated with individuals, and they're crunching all of that data real time with AI, likely. So check this next clip out.
Which side is the good side and which side is the bad side? By which side wishes to restrict freedom of speech? The side that is restricting freedom of speech, that would have been sort of the Hitler, Stalin, Mussolinis of the world. They had very strong censorship, very strong restrictions on speech. That's one of the signs that they are the bad guys. And so, in fact, a restriction on speech and large government is fundamentally fascist, obviously. So, ironically, in pushing for censorship, it makes it very clear that the left is the side that is against freedom, and freedom of speech is simply one of many freedoms that we should have as a civil society, because ideas should win on the strength of their arguments. They should not win because they are suppressed.
Well, when you think about it, our interactions online are more and more being tethered to our identity in this world. Some ethereal concept, your online social media account, is now integrally being linked to our psyches, our consciousness, our interactions with others, our job life, our work and family life. And so it's very interesting how this is all tied together. Now, before we carry on, we have to cover the speech that President Trump gave at the UN in New York. And the timing of this all around the fall feasts, for those of you who pay attention to the timing of biblical kind of seasons of eventhood, right? Well, check this out. This is some of the highlights. Much like a needle in the haystack, a statement in this 1 hour long speech that just was slipped in there very quickly that has so much gravity, so to speak, that guys, just this 1 minute clip, if people didn't watch this whole 1 hour thing and they missed this, you're going to want to see this. But let's start with some of the more savage moments at the UN headquarters.
Look at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Trump's speech to the UN is worth listening to in its entirety. But I've gathered all the satisfying moments where he slammed the UN and warned many of the countries of the path they are traveling down.
I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood the other way. It's easier. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. What took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. Now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, is climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. It cost yourself a lot of jobs. a lot of factories closed, but you reduce the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail.
As a bonus, Trump even talked about the UN building that he could have renovated better.
Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger.
Well, what are your thoughts so far on some of those just stingers?
I loved it. I love that he was speaking right to their faces, and I love that he used his real estate and the way that he built buildings as like an example of what these countries are doing to themselves. They go for the more expensive option, and it's more like he's using that as an example to not ruin your own country. And he's right. I mean, I think he's right on, but I know other people have different opinions about that, and that's okay. And we should be allowed to agree to disagree, you know?
Yeah, so guys, don't get me wrong. There are so many sound bites in this entire UN address that you need to go and watch the whole thing. But to save you some time, I wanted to focus in on what I believe they hit in the middle that we wouldn't notice. Now, check out, this is the full video, and it's right around the 20-minute mark. Check this out.
We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce Biological Weapons Convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. risky research into bioweapons.
Listen
and
again, guys.
Man-made pathogens.
I mean, they stuck it in the middle of the speech with all of these trigger amazing clips. And if you didn't watch the whole thing, you'd have missed this statement.
Meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often.
Well, what does that make you think of? Oh man.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what to take away from that. I think that they should just enforce the Nuremberg Code, really. But what is he talking about exactly for people who may not understand?
To be very simple and explicit, the justification for AI verification is biological warfare fear and the whole association with the medical industry and borders strengthening and personal AI identity verification. And you had it all, it was all right there, guys. And it was just a quick little statement in the midst of all of these zingers, which are sure to get way more coverage. He talked about the environment at the UN. He called everybody out. He talked about Israel and Gaza and all of this stuff. So hopefully I did my job. Hopefully our audience can see what I'm trying to share in the significance of the association with biological weaponry and warfare and AI digital verification that everybody can trust. I think this is probably the biggest statement of the night. Just in the midst of this big haystack of zingers, you had this single needle, the needle in the haystack. This is hanging in the White House of all of the previous presidents. Look what Trump had put in for Biden.
I love this. This is so great.
Wow, these heroes. Oh, there's number 45. And there's a robot.
That's great.
So he hung the Autopen that was used to sign for President Biden. And just shows we actually had robot President Biden. Listen, I don't know if you have a telephone booth nearby. You know, a booth, a landline you can jump into anywhere nearby. You might want to, because we're about to go off the deep end. Check out this first. Now, we know these UN speeches, these events. The Charlie Kirk shooting was 9/10, right before 9/11. We had just on September 23rd and 22nd this time frame of the biblical feasts of Yom Teruah, and the blowing of the trumpet as Donald Trump gave this announcement to the world at the UN headquarters. Hey, check this out. As we head into the month of October, be on the lookout for Comet Swan. It's a newly discovered comet that is expected to become visible in the western sky after sunset. For best results, be away from city lights and use binoculars or a camera capable of taking night photos. The comet is expected to be the brightest on the night of October 12th. Very interesting. So I know there's actually another comet that's due, but I love what's happening in the skies. But as we look at this, let's look at Benny Johnson's coverage of the purposeful sabotage of Donald Trump's entrance into the UN and all the things that happened to him.
Oh, I'll get the next one.
Plenty of room.
No, I'll just take the escalator.
Squeeze on in.
I'd rather my robes didn't smell like a fillet of fish all day, thanks.
Trump's the emperor?
That's hopeful, man.
What's up, guys? Benny. Donald Trump already doesn't like the United Nations. He's called it a cesspool of globalism, and he gave a speech there yesterday where he roasts all the globalists to their faces. They didn't quite like that, and the individuals who run the United Nations seemingly tried to create a house of horrors for Donald Trump as he walked through the building in order to get to his speech. Not a smart idea. What you can see here in this clip is that they turned off the escalator right when President Trump and Melania Trump got on in order to walk up the escalator. You can see here President Trump and Melania Trump getting on the escalator, and then the escalator shuts off. This is, of course, a massive security.
Now, I just wanted to make a comment while we're watching it on screen. Do you recall the initiation of Donald Trump into the political scene began with a elevator,
Escalator.
a Simpsons-like episode playing out before our eyes as he came down the escalator, right? What do you think it could symbolize trying to go up an escalator that stopped short, and then he powers his way up anyways? What does this metaphorically lay out like in our subconscious as our collective humanity is absorbing this media? Think about these elements as we watch this, guys, and that's how you'll see some of the theater.
Problem. And then Donald Trump and Melania Trump have to walk up the stairs, which of course they can do, unlike Joe Biden. But the intention here was in order to clearly have Melania Trump and Donald Trump trip over each other and to create a embarrassing moment for them. You can see right here. Again,
it's
the
amazing
escalator,
it
which
stops
is moving,
right then.
stops. And then the goal, you can see a little bit of a jolt there for both of them as they look confused. The escalator stopping, obviously, was done on purpose. Here's the clip.
We love that punctuality.
Yes.
And the First Lady also...
Audio on that or not?
Chuck Schumer.
Okay, I heard the end. That was Chuck Schumer. There's a reason for that.
Right. So we just saw in the commercial break that President Trump has posted a very lengthy Truth Social.
Oh, yeah.
And it is all about the Democrats. And you might have heard that Senator Chuck Schumer and the Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, they have asked for a meeting with President Trump on Thursday to try to avoid this government shutdown and maybe bring up other things. He's saying that he doesn't think a meeting will be productive with them. He's saying that there are principles in a letter that's been laid out, and if they can't agree to that, I suppose there might not be a meeting.
So Donald Trump had the escalator stopped there and then had the teleprompters turned off on him. Donald Trump was giving this speech in front of the United Nations. Obviously, every nation assembled in this building that is, of course, given to them and funded entirely by the United States of America. And as soon as Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, walks up, this happens.
Mind making the speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter
Where was
is not
Hillary?
working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Trump not having it.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen.
There you go.
But she's in great shape.
Trump knows it. That was the point.
We're both in good shape. We both stood.
So that's
and
why
then
he went
teleprompter
ham.
that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Trump is joking. J.D. Vance is joking here. He laughed at this post, but I'm not sure that the United Nations is going to be laughing. J.D. Vance saying, all kidding aside, anybody notice how, despite the lack of a teleprompter, he delivered a clear, reasonable address to the United Nations on foreign policy? It's nice to have a president with a brain, says J.D. Vance. If you're on a moving escalator and it suddenly stops, then you fall over. And the goal would be to get like a Biden moment here to trip up Donald Trump, literally. The White House has condemned the United Nations security and accuses their staff of deliberately turning off the escalators to embarrass President Trump. Melania Trump were forced to walk up the escalator when it suddenly stopped right when they stepped on the escalator. That's how you know. Secretary Caroline Leavitt immediately cited a report by the Times on Sunday that noted that the UN had joked that they could turn off the escalators and the elevators in the building. The pranksters.
Okay, so I just want to pause that line of thought, right, and explain to you as an audience the difference between angles of interpretation, right? So as Benny's going through this story, in his mind, he's interpreting, hey, he tried to go up this escalator, it stopped, allegedly that the UN was trying to embarrass Donald Trump, to make him trip and bump into Melania, that the teleprompter going off was to stumble him. And while one or the other might be true in either situation, and if you think about it, the powerful left-right hook that calling them out about the elevator stopping provided, it shows you that there can be another angle of interpretation. Like, what if they wrote that into his speech and he found out that they're gonna stop the elevator and he's like, let them stop it, I'm gonna use it in my speech. And while it might not be nefarious, even maybe it was just genius speech writing and compositing, because he has a team of people behind him trying to make these momentous scenes. And think about what it represents. The elevator stops and he and Melania don't stumble over each other. Oh, that's a powerful metaphor. And boom, they power up the elevator with their own strength. That's a powerful metaphor. And if you think about it, why do we always assume that this is to make Donald Trump look bad? Is there such a thing as the man behind the green curtain, the Wizard of Oz that is pulling the strings? Is Donald Trump the Wizard of Oz? Well, just recently we had him announce at the Charlie Kirk Memorial that he would be sharing some connections that have been revealed regarding autism. Now, this has been covered recently, and I just want to share this brief meme, right? Just a reminder, right? Here's in the 1950s when Tylenol was introduced, and here's a timeline of back when autism really took a foothold, right? So it was first identified in the early 20th century, while Tylenol was introduced many decades later. So check out this video, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jeremiah and Opa, regarding this topic of Tylenol and autism.
It's just, I don't know if you saw this. Kennedy just came out and he said his vision for everybody in America is they have a wearable, which means he's the Judas goat walking everybody into the control grid. So, I think any hope that he was playing an inside game. My hope was he was playing an inside game and sort of making compromises so he could get something done. But he and Elon Musk are having a competition for who can get the most people into the control grid the fastest. So do you know what a Judas goat is in livestock management?
Nope.
Okay. A Judas goat, you'll train a goat to walk all the sheep into the slaughterhouse. So here's the slaughterhouse, the Judas goat kind of walks in, and right at the end he turns, and then the sheep go into the slaughterhouse. So his job is to steer people, and so I was hoping Kennedy was playing an inside game, but he's, based on what he said the other day, he's the Judas goat. And he and Musk are having a competition, I think, for making the control grid fashionable. Maha has turned out to be a Trojan horse.
All right. So anyways, Jeremiah, what are your thoughts on this connection with Tylenol and autism? Do you think they're just kind of trying to do this, make us redirected away from some words we can't speak online? What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's very interesting based on the statistics that they showed, because I watched the whole thing as a person with autism. It used to be called Asperger's, so they lumped it all into one term, which makes it more difficult for them to actually track the data of who has what and what is where, and because it's all because of political correctness, and they put it all under one umbrella, which you can't really do. And he even had two moms come up, which was very powerful. and one of the moms had a severely autistic kid, and she said the only word that he knows is no, but he doesn't comprehend why I'm telling him no. He just knows that no is a word, no, and I need to stop. He doesn't understand why. Then on the other side, it was more like me, functioning, and probably would have been diagnosed with Asperger's about 10, 15 years ago, but now is able to functioning as normal, as some would say. But I think it has a very big, you shouldn't be taking anything when you're pregnant, is what I was always under the impression of. But now all these liberals are going to start taking them like they're candy while they're pregnant, and we're going to have some severely autistic kids, and then we'll have to say, told you so. He tried to tell you so.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting right now, Jeremiah, because we're actually in real time seeing two branching sects of humanity splitting apart. Like, you're going to have these overly injected kind of like genetically modifieds, and then you're going to have like these Charlie Kirk homebred, homeschooled farmies, and they're going to be like monstrosities compared to the bean poles that are sprouting over here, and we're gonna have two different species of mankind. And man, what an interesting time. It really reminds me of Cain and the sons of Seth, and how half of them became Nephilim hybrids, and the other half were like these righteous, pure-blooded non-corrupteds. And then eventually, the days of Noah. You-know-whats are poison. Tylenol impairs detoxification by reducing glutathione. MTHFR gene mutations reduce detox capabilities, and so the naughty word plus Tylenol plus MTHFR mutations is the perfect storm to pave the way for the Autisms. Opa, did you have any thoughts?
Well, first off, backtrack a little bit when we're talking about the escalator thing at the UN, and then I'll talk about the Tylenol. But the escalator thing, when that first happened, I think the UN came back and said, oh, no, it stopped because it's a safety mechanism. Somebody was on the escalator backwards and was looking, trying to film President coming up the escalator, and it automatically stopped for safety reasons, which, if you looked at that video, I didn't see anybody in front of them. So, I don't know. The
timing, though.
It was weird.
That's why you can't believe what you read.
True, absolutely. Now, the Tylenol thing, and autism, records really weren't kept very well back in the 1920s, 1930s, and so on. And so I'm not sure that a lot of that data back then is accurate. They could have had more, or they could have had less. Good point. And I think now, they're lumping everything together and, just calling it autism. And I think Tylenol may have some effect on it, but I think that also it's multiple things that can cause these problems. We've got so much chemical crap in our foods and drinks and environment and what have you, and Tylenol may just be one part of it. Who knows? Aspirin might be, ibuprofen may be, who knows? So I wouldn't stop and say Tylenol is the one thing that's doing this. I would say that it's a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. Your perspective is so important, Opa, because I think that's one of the uses of misdirection, right? Where one boogeyman, it becomes the scapegoat, and all the blame is put on this one thing. I do remember, though, growing up, Tylenol was slung as like pop 'em like candy. It's an all-around inclusive pain reliever. Even as a young person, I remember just being told, "Oh yeah, take some Tylenol. Here's a couple." You know, like this was a common thing that I remember. My friends, their moms, their parents, like it was like everybody was just brainwashed into being, yeah, Tylenol for a headache, Tylenol for a little boo-boo, you know. Whatever.
Well, I think the reason why he was calling out Tylenol specifically is because a lot of it has so the problem with what's the main problem is the acetaminophen, which is an anti-inflammatory medication it's in Tylenol, and it's also in Excedrin, and it's also in everything that's supposed to be like pain reliever, but it destroys your liver, and you should try to stay away from it if you can, but it has the highest dosage in it, from what I understand. But that's why he was targeting Tylenol. But I don't know. I just think there should be a bigger warning on it, and on all of them. All of them are. I mean, there's really no point in taking it. Drink some water if you have a headache. You know, there's so many things that the Most High gave us that we should just take on our own, anyways, right? So.
Yeah, you know, a part of it also tragically is associated with the white lab coat blindness that we all get, because we are conditioned to trust a system of medicine that has gone through this rigorous doctorate program. Only they can make these claims about health and safety and efficacy, and then their pockets are being padded. Some of the crooked ones, that is, right? Which you can then ask the question, is that a majority or a minority, right? Mm-hmm. But anyways, hey, did you guys think it was interesting, you know, the comet coming up this next month?
Yeah, I just wish I could see it. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it from where we are.
We'll have to go on an adventure out into the desert or something, and do some tests, get some P900 action up on these things, because check this out. Apparently that alien comet that everybody's freaking out about, it is now supposedly changing colors. Yes, new photos show the interstellar comet is now glowing bright green. Oh, perfect. Wow.
Maybe it's trying to communicate.
Shoo, you never know. Anyways, before we move off of this health topic, what about Mrs. Marjorie Taylor Greene and her line of question recently on chemtrails? Check it out.
For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. And not only is it a multi-billion-dollar industry, the government has invested a lot of Americans' hard-earned tax dollars into it. They've been forced to spin it, and apparently it is now the only way we are going to save humanity. However, let's look at the risk. According to GAO, injecting a cloud with silver iodide increases precipitation anywhere from 0 to 20%. It could be even more, but the truth is that we really don't know for certain. The questions that are asked is, can you control the exact amount of precipitation that a cloud will produce if it is injected with silver iodide or another cloud seeding agent? Can you control where the precipitation is going to land with 100% certainty? Can you say that it will not cause or enhance flooding with 100% certainty? Is there any way to measure with absolute certainty the effectiveness of seeding a cloud? Do we know with 100% certainty how much rain a cloud would have produced if it had not been seeded? And lastly, did the American people ever get to have a say in any of this? The truth is that there's absolutely no way to measure the effectiveness of cloud seeding. But something else that needs to be known is the American people deserve to know that there is very little rules and regulations over this. These companies that perform cloud seeding and other types of geoengineering projects have to fill out forms from NOAA, and they have to list what agents they're using. And there is a category that simply says other, and they don't have to even fill out what other means. And I think that's extremely concerning. But I'd like to talk a little bit more about solar geoengineering. It's completely different. More consequential approach to human manipulation of the planet's climate. One geoengineering company called Make Sunsets injects aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. I want to show you their frequently asked questions page on their website. Mr. Pilkey, it says here, it says, what are you doing? It says, we're using balloons to launch reflective clouds into the stratosphere. And then it says, why? It says, unless we reflect sunlight, tens of millions of people will die, and 20% of species may go extinct. We're using the most effective way to reflect sunlight that we found and can afford to deploy. Mr. Pilkey, is it true that tens of millions of people will die if they don't do this?
There's nothing you can find in the IPCC or other scientific literature to suggest that's a consequence. Sometimes those stark claims are made to try to scare people into other forms of action on climate change. So if you don't change energy policy, we're going to mess up the stratosphere. And that's how I interpret that.
Sounds like a major threat to make for their company to make money. They said, how long do Make Sunsets clouds stay in the sky? Depending on the altitude and latitude at which we release them, anywhere between 6 months and 3 years. They also say, is it legal? They say, yes, it falls under the Weather Modification Act. Then they have a question here, Mr. Marks. I would like you to stop doing this. And they say, and we would like an equitable future with breathable air and no wet bulb events for generations to come. Convince us there's a more feasible way to buy us time to get there and we'll stop. We'll happily debate anyone on this. Mr. Marks, they don't think that the rest of us have a say in this. How do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that the claim that the air is not going to be breathable is just patently ridiculous. Carbon dioxide, although it is a greenhouse gas, and yes, I do agree that some of the warming, at least, that we've seen in the last 100 years is probably due to CO2 emissions. There's no indication that the air is going to become unbreathable. It makes up 0.04% by dry air volume of Earth's atmosphere. And submariners in the Navy are subject to the concentrations exceeding 5,000 parts per million and are just fine.
Well, let me ask another question, Mr. Marks. You know, it's sulfur, right, that is put into the air. Is there health consequences for people, especially like after volcanic eruptions? Is there health consequences to that type of injection into the atmosphere?
Well, sulfur dioxide, if it's injected into the stratosphere, obviously it blocks out solar radiation, and so that would potentially, if it's implemented on a large enough scale over a long period of time, it could reduce crop yields because obviously plants need sunlight to grow. They need water and CO2, just basic photosynthesis. And there's also concerns that if it gets into the troposphere, it could create acid rain. And that is called acid deposition into the soil. And that makes it hard for plants to obviously do.
Acid rain drops down on your face, then you will melt. Acid rain.
In pain.
My face is burning, I need help.
It's a new hit.
All right. So, in light of what President Trump said in the UN about climate change, think of the insanity of the people on that statement that were basically saying, because of climate change, we are going to spray God knows what above your head. You know,
who was in charge of the CDC that was controlling and telling our government to shut down small businesses and what they recommend for the mandates of the vaccines and Pfizer and all? At the time when COVID was being enacted, I'm going to read off the staff of who was in charge of this CDC. The director of the CDC was Rochelle Walensky, dual citizenship with Israel. She's a Jew. Deputy director of the CDC, Ann Shawalchik, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. CDC chief of staff, Sherry Berger, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. CDC chief medical officer, Mitchell Wolf, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. CDC director of the Washington office. This is pertinent to the topic. We're talking about COVID, right? Yeah, this is pertinent to COVID, so I love you, Jennifer. Yeah, please. So director of the CDC of the Washington office, Jeff Rezek, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. COVID czar, Jeff Zaints, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. COVID senior advisor, Andy Slavitt, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. Assistant of Health Secretary for Human Services for our country, the Assistant of Health Secretary, Rachel Levine, transgender, dual citizenship with Israel, yes, Jew.
Can I ask that you hold off, Christopher?
Ma'am, I'm almost done.
Mr. Wood, the chair has ruled that your comments are out of order. She's asked you to stop. The chair has...
You said Jew. There's nothing wrong with Jew. It's not derogatory.
Exactly. Okay, keep on going. Head of Pfizer Vaccines, Albert Bourla, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. Pfizer chief scientist, Michael Dostin, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. Moderna chief scientist, Paul Zaks, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. BlackRock, everyone know BlackRock? BlackRock CEO, Larry Fink, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. I said we're willing to sacrifice our ego, our reputation, and our lives. Yes, ma'am, and I love you, and I appreciate your patience. BlackRock president, Rob Capital, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. The CDC chief medical officer of Johnson & Johnson, Joanne Waldstreicher, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. Chief medical officer of Merck, Michael Rosenthal, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. Head advisor of the World Economic Forum, Yuval Harari, dual citizenship with Israel, Jew. And that's what we're talking about. That's not talking about who's the party.
Christopher, you need to stop.
Who's in control of the media or the bank? Go on. God bless you. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, so obviously people are feeling a little conspiratorial
with the Jew,
with the topic of Jews, but we have to understand this is a complex issue. We've just passed through, like I've mentioned previously, the whole Feast of Trumpets time period, and a lot of people were predicting and expecting the second coming of Christ. And you know, you would see posts like this one. Pastors reveal exact date Jesus will return, and it's tomorrow. So now, as the date setters come and go and time passes, we do see significant periods of time like this where we have all been paying attention, and thus the verse comes to mind where scoffers will arise saying, where is the, you know, appearance of his coming? Where is this expected Son of Man that everybody's saying we're waiting for? And these dates are rolling by and these prophecies seem to be fulfilled, and we're not seeing it. Well, it's because of, you know, people that are making strong statements and claims, prophetic, like date setters, basically. While there's nothing wrong with being watchmen, which is what we're trying to be, and paying attention to the signs of the times and the various elements of the world chess game, we can't really know for sure the day or the hour, right? But you know, of course, this definitely hardens people's hearts sometimes, because when things come and go and the rapture didn't happen, don't give up faith. You know, it's actually said it was going to be like this. People are going to start mocking the fact that he's not shown up yet. And it's just going to continue to get worse, according to the book of Revelation, until pretty much, you know, he finds those who are worthy and have made it through the end of days. Okay, Jeremiah, I thought this one would catch your attention. You know, you had the interview with Tiger King. Well, did you see that Joe Exotic's associate was mauled to death just recently by one of the tigers?
No, but that doesn't surprise me. That happens with every single person that owns big cats that gets that close to them. I mean, what do you expect? That thing is gonna rip your face off. It's gonna eat you alive eventually.
I love the way that these stories can connect in metaphorical fashion, right? It's like this strong AI empire we're building under the Trump presidency is just like this cute little kitty cat that will grow into this massive beast that'll rip your face off. But it's doing all right now. It's cute. It's patriotic. It's bringing God back into the state. You know, all these good things, guys. Well, you know, I don't know. Anyways, any latest on the you know, Tiger King campaign, Jeremiah?
They're trying everything they can. I don't know why he's still in there. I think he's, you know, being held as kind of a political prisoner when it comes to that area of, you know, PETA and all that is a massive scam. And I don't know if I've ever done a Histories Mysteries on PETA, but I should if I haven't, because it's a very interesting backstory and, you know, where the money goes and all that. But I haven't heard much of anything of pardoning or anything.
Well, do you remember that crazy riot that happened in Nepal where they were kicking their government financiers through the streets and dragging them through the river, and they had to escape by helicopter?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember why they threw that riot, all those youth?
Why?
Well, the politics, the government came after TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember right around the inauguration, there was this controversy regarding TikTok once again here in America regarding the Chinese servers being shut off, and there was this little message, and then within just a few hours, President Trump, the incumbent, had already set it straight to where TikTok was running, no issue, right?
Yep.
Well, guys, it's coming full circle. Check it out. US will control TikTok's algorithm under this new deal. Pretty much the algorithms that have manipulated our views on YouTube and Facebook and all that, they weren't so strong in TikTok. Maybe it's because it was coming through the Chinese or whatever, and we were able to disseminate information a little bit more porously, and the conspiracies were able to fly without the fettered aid of the government's guiding hand. But check out this this clip from TikTok. Maybe one of the reasons that they need to control the algorithm, right? This is uploaded Windsor Castle, September 17th. Look at all these world leaders gathered. Blackstone, Arm CEO,
Jew,
Marjorie,
Jew, Jew. Copyright.
Apple, NVIDIA,
Jew.
Oh, you know, I think that's so hilarious in a way, and I think that's why there has been such stringent lingual chains put on people. There's actually legislation and anti-Semitism laws that have been passed to prevent people from using certain terms. And isn't it interesting that the term that people are applying to the people that are controlling, whether it relates to true Israel or not, because of course we know that the true Israel of Yah in the Bible is the people that keep his Torah and they abide by his ways. They're the ones that he makes his people. And there's a lot of people that were spread to the four corners of the earth as Israel dispersed, and we all could share blood truly with one of the ancient Israelites. And so how does one identify separately than these modern terms that have been created and applied to different ideas and groups and concepts to obscurate certain truths? And it's really important to see through You know, we're going to go into something pretty deep now, guys. This is the Charlie Kirk Alternative Theories segment of today's news broadcast. Here's every Israeli connection to Charlie Kirk's assassination so far. He was groomed by Israel as a teenager. He was Israel's top non-Jewish loyalist. He starts mildly criticizing Israel. He said Epstein was Mossad. He said no Iran war on behalf of Israel. He lobbied Trump against Iran war. Trump barked back at him over Iran. He said Israel had full control of Trump. He referred to Netanyahu as a bully. This is the basis of this whole conspiratorial association because of the very claims Charlie Kirk had made right before he was shot. He refused Netanyahu's funding. He became disgusted with Netanyahu. He led anti-Zionists speak at his events. Zionist media starts attacking him. Donors threaten to defund TPUSA. Donors demand Kirk ban Tucker, because Tucker is like trying to be this maverick truth seeker, as you saw with his questioning of Sam Altman, right? Donors cut him off and launch attacks. What else are we seeing here? Loomer says Kirk backstabbed Trump. FBI director fires chief of Utah FBI. Interesting. He has an anti-Israel interview with Shapiro. Shapiro attacks Kirk on Mark Levin. He has combative meeting with Israeli rabbi. Before 9/10, unusual people visited the shooter. Oh, who are these visitors? The visitors had out-of-state license plates. The visitors did not give off a good vibe. Charlie shot from 200 yards away. Unidentified man runs in crowd with pistol. Police arrest Patsy, claiming to be shooter. Patsy yells, "Shoot me," during arrest. 9/11 propaganda video surfaces of Patsy. Actual shooter flees without a trace. Netanyahu tweets within minutes. Israeli Prime Minister first to confirm Charlie's death. Private jet takes off 12 minutes away. So the FBI claim they have photos of the shooter. FBI claims shooter wore tactical gear. Assembled gun found in wooded area. No photos exist of shooter with the gun. No photos exist of shooter in tactical gear. Zionists go on social media blitz about Kirk. Netanyahu goes on media blitz about Kirk. Netanyahu says Islamists behind shooting. Netanyahu says Israel didn't kill Kirk. Netanyahu reads Kirk's pro-Israel letter. Candace says the letter was faked. Candace calls on Netanyahu to publish letter. Tucker says Charlie was at war with Israel. Cernovich says Kirk was at war with donors. Gray Zone drops article with Trump Insider. Insider confirms Kirk's war with Israel. Trump Insiders say outside forces killed Kirk, but I'm sure it was just some random liberal kid. All right, so while this is not an interesting video and I just blasted through a lot of these bullet points, I'm trying to set the stage, gentlemen, because it's not just crazy conspiracy theorists, it's America's top podcast host, Joe Rogan. Also believes it's fishy. Check it out.
Assembly, reassembly. They said he had a screwdriver up there.
A screwdriver?
Yeah, you need more than a screwdriver. I've got a video of a guy breaking down the same exact gun that this dude had. He is at 38 seconds, and all he's got the barrel away from the stock, and he's struggling, and he's totally calm.
Yeah.
And he didn't just shoot a guy.
Right.
And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid backpack. It makes no sense. This story is horse. I don't buy assembly, reassembly. They said he had a screwdriver up there.
A screwdriver?
Yeah, you need more.
Wow. So there's holes being poked in the official narrative. Something very JFK-esque. A lot of the situation surrounding the person falsely being arrested and all this. Let's first watch the alleged video that's being scrubbed from the internet that supposedly got Charlie shot in the first place, if it wasn't the liberal kid that took him out, and it was something much darker and more sinister, more brooding, and more ancient.
Has a mandate, I gotta be careful the way I say this, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier. Right, the whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel is on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours?
Very interesting. Some of this footage is what's sparking these conspiracy theorists that are uttering the four-letter word, that are causing these theories to spring up about the small-hatted people. And so check out this next clip, which is a little bit more of Joe Rogan's analysis of the fishy stuff surrounding the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I just want to once again be clear before we get into this. This is not in any way meant to be disrespectful. Wrong for even wanting to question the official narrative, but it's the avid pursuit of every truth keeper that is always willing to entertain even sometimes the silliest idea if there is some supporting evidence. And I think that's why it's so important to be willing to question the official narrative. Call back, right? The meme I showed you. You weren't educated, you were programmed. They didn't teach you how to think. They taught you what not to question. And so as you watch, pay attention to what is common knowledge, what everybody already knows is accepted truth. And therein you find where to start digging. Now check this out.
Who's an older guy?
He gets arrested for child right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right, right.
Because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things?
Okay, pretty crazy. Here's a few more of the connections that I've seen pop up worth paying attention to.
So there's this movie that a few of you in the comments recommended I check out because it seems to predict the Charlie Kirk assassination. And it's honestly kind of insane and scary. This movie's from 1998. It's called Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage. Now let me just start out by saying that I'm not implying anything. I'm literally just going to break down the movie and point out a few connections. But I want to make it clear that I think it's still too soon to come to any conclusions. That said, I find it beyond bizarre that this movie is basically about a politician named Charles Kirkland who gets assassinated during a live event. He gets shot in the neck, and it looks shockingly similar. It occurs during a boxing match, and the boxer's named Lincoln Tyler, who in the movie keeps out cowens and eavesdroppers, meaning he's a Masonic guard or executioner. He's the Atlantic City executioner. Oh, and the fight and assassination just happens to be on September 10th, the same exact day. Now look, there are some crazy implications if this really is predictive programming or a planned event. I'm not necessarily saying that's the case. I'm supposed to mean. Keep in mind, they mentioned the Kennedy assassination, conspiracy theories. This is Hollywood promoting this idea that the media lies, plants false evidence, uses fake assassins to carry out a political purpose, cover-ups at the highest level of government, and we're just supposed to think this is all coincidence? I mean, at some point you have to admit there's something weird going on. So again, we have timing. This is from 1998. Why are we seeing this in a film with a Trump-coded casino owner and a live assassination on September 10th? We have the Patsy media rollout pre-9/11, a Palestinian Patsy, handwritten notes that were planted to show it was a suicide mission, and a ready-made media cover story that's a weird precursor to post-9/11 script that would dominate the news 3 years later. Then there's a tech cover story featuring real military speak, including Sea Sparrow, Norfolk, so they're basing this on real stuff. And then there's the ritual and symbolism. The whole event took place in a hall. Tyler is the executioner. And then there's the whole Jezebel Whore Babylon reference. Oh, and I did want to mention that De Palma has a whole history of weaving conspiracies and cover-ups into his films. Like, that's kind of his thing. Blowout is literally about a political assassination and the media cover story around it. A sound guy hears evidence on tape and then watches it get buried, which is basically the same as Snake Eyes. Then you've got Body Double, all about hidden cameras, surveillance, and how you can't trust what you're seeing. Same theme. Then there's The Black Dahlia, which is its own dark, deep rabbit hole. Anyway, then Tyler says, she. Rick says, who's she? Then he kind of changes the subject and says, you hear that storm out there? I wish it would blow this town away. Now this is kind of hard to catch because it's mid-casual conversation, but there's a reason he ignored Rick when he said, who's she? When he starts talking about the storm. The storm is called Hurricane Jezebel. And then Rick says, yeah, but who is she? Talking about the red-haired woman in the red dress. This is almost certainly a Whore Babylon reference, as she is depicted in a red dress, and they just connected her to Jezebel. This almost certainly ties the film to esoteric references, as the Whore of Babylon is kind of a Masonic theme as well. It represents corrupted church, false authority, or an empire of lies. The idea is the truth is hidden, chaos is orchestrated, and ritual archetypes are repeated in public spectacles. So this woman with the red hair is the one who gave Tyler the directions to take the fall and rig the fight. The same woman Dunn was investigating when this first happened. Okay, this next scene is crazy. So Dunn is on the news now, with Lou, talking about who this assassin is. They tell us the shooter is a Palestinian who lived in the United States for the last 6 years. He was upset about the sale of missile systems and other weaponry to Israel, and there was a handwritten note found on his body. Okay, this seems bizarre for a bunch of reasons, but notice how Dunn is nervous here. Remember, he just said he can't lie, and he looks uncomfortable, the same way he did earlier when he was talking about lying. The movie does this on purpose to hint that this official story is actually a cover and false, that he's lying right now.
That doesn't hit at night with your hammer down all this shit in my head.
Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's Israeli security detail killed Charlie Kirk. That is the explosion from Charlie Kirk's lavalier lapel mic. Want to see it again? Bring it in closer. Remember when we told you that that was absolutely an exit wound? Yeah, it is. Check the trajectory of the round that was deployed from that lavalier lapel mic. That went directly from Charlie Kirk's lapel. That went directly from underneath Charlie Kirk's white t-shirt up through his neck and created the exit wound that we told you was an exit wound immediately when we saw that exit wound. First we had exploding pagers, now we have exploding mics. Do you remember the vector analysis from John Bray? That proves that all of the activity came from the mic that Charlie Kirk was wearing. Remember the palm gun guy in the brown shirt, that shadowy looking guy with the sunglasses? Yeah, he pushes the detonator. Clear as day.
Counting gang violence. Great.
That's the assassin. That's the guy that pushes the detonator, which perfectly aligns with the explosion that pushes that projectile through Charlie's right side of his neck and out the left side, creating the exit wound. That might just look like the chaos that you would expect after someone was publicly executed in broad daylight in front of 3,000 people. But in no way did that trigger man, that assassin in the brown shirt with the sunglasses, act alone. We have video now that shows the handoff of this remote detonator. But there was no shooter. Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's Israeli security detail killed Charlie Kirk.
Check this one out.
Conspiracy theory is this.
Now, if you didn't see it, in a picture of the alleged shooter was an island. And as he investigates this island, it ties into something Kash Patel had said during the whole shooting coverage. Valhalla Resort.
To my friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch. And I'll see you in Valhalla.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is on the back of his
in
computer.
The conspiracy theory
on his
is
computer
this.
screen is this location very close in distance to a resort called Valhalla. The closer you look, the weirder it gets. And there has been some interesting analysis coming out regarding the spectral frequency analysis of the shot, some claiming that the sound is more akin to something that was close by and in the stadium rather than a rifle out of the enclosed area. But this caught my attention. It was an individual who seemed to have had something in his hand directed towards Charlie, the side of him that was shot, and it seems as if there could be a hidden weapon. Now, this is just two angles of this, and once again, a warning for those of you who have been trauma-bound by this event.
Counting gang violence.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
Violence.
Recoil.
Counting gang violence. Counting gang
It's a fake arm gun or something?
In his hand, in his knuckles, get an angle from the other side. Look at his fingers. Between, do you see the split?
Gang violence.
The split in his fingers, right there.
Counting gang violence.
Right in between his big finger and his ring finger. It almost looks like a fake finger.
He was the first suspect that they picked up.
Conspiracy theorists out there, I don't want you going crazy, but what are the odds that George Zinn, the patsy that was arrested at the Charlie Kirk assassination, also saw 9/11, he saw the planes fly into the buildings and called that in and reported it, and then he also called in a fake terrorist attack at the Boston Marathon bombing, and just so happened to get arrested at Charlie Kirk.
Who is this old guy?
So Tess Keyser, she responded to this tweet and she says, Grok is a guy really involved in all three events like this post claims. And Grok fact checks it and goes, based on a review of multiple sources, George Zinn was a witness to the 9/11 attacks, and he described seeing planes hit the towers. He was also arrested in 2013 for emailing a bomb threat joke to the Salt Lake City Marathon shortly after the Boston bombing. He pled guilty to a terrorism charge and somehow magically only received probation. He was also detained and questioned as a person of interest at the Charlie Kirk assassination on September 10th, 2025, but released without charges relating to the shooting. Then Grok went on and made sure that it told you there is no credible evidence that supports claims of his involvement in 9/11's false flag, facilitating Kirk's death, or Mossad ties. The main suspect in Kirk's killing is now Tyler Robinson, and he is in custody. So I asked Grok to break this one down for us, and it says so. And it wouldn't give me an answer first. It said it's impossible to calculate. Well, I said use statistical probability and give me a ballpark stat on the probability of him being at all three major events. And it goes through here and it breaks it down. And we get down here to the very bottom where it combines the probability right here. Combined probability. And it says it is equal to 0.705%, or 5 times 10 to the power of 8. That translates to approximately 1 in 2 billion.
Okay, guys, so just to kind of bring the point home here of what we could have been witnessing with that figure in the crowd. Now, Jeremiah, you were asking, was it like a fake arm gun or something? Check out a gun that can be concealed in the palm of the hand and protrude from the knuckle area. It would look much like this in kind of like a big bulky sense, but think, we're talking multi-trillion-dollar cover-up black ops stuff. So don't you think they could have a guy with like a fake middle finger that, you know, could send a bullet flying through between these fingers? I mean, this like is totally a plausibility, one of the plausible theories, because even if this guy who was standing right there in the crowd and had this action wasn't the shooter, it's just a possibility. I mean, what if this other guy's a patsy, just as Joe Rogan was talking about? What do you guys think?
Well, I think, well, I know that the Secret Service has fake arms in their suits. Like, they have fake arms so that they can easily access a firearm to, you know, I don't want to say it on YouTube, you know, if somebody gets too close to the president. So, if that's possible, then what isn't possible?
Exactly. And I think weighing all of the possibilities is so important, because there is more to meets the eye to all this. It is very, very interesting. Check out this next clip. It's kind of funny how apparently deranged leftists love signing ammo. So this is Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. They're signing their bombs, and then, you know, the callback. So they're showing you your identifiers, right? Now the leftists are radicalized. Now anybody who disagrees with Trump, now you sign bullets. That's what this is signing to the world. I also think it's nominal, some of the things surrounding the Charlie Kirk shooting, such as this peculiar statement from Tucker Carlson during the memorial. Did you see this, Jeremiah?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power.
Listen to what he says.
And he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do
Eating hummus.
about this guy telling the truth about us. We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story.
Who do you think Tucker was alluding to in his little statement there? Very interesting thing to say.
The apple juice.
Now, let's see here.
Are you familiar with Mark Dice?
Yes, I am. Yes, Mark Dice.
He's covered some of these like connections, along with Candace Owens has been doing a lot of reporting on Israel's potential involvement in Charlie Kirk's assassination.
It's a really interesting time in the world, and no matter what, you can be assured that whether contrived or spontaneous, this is being used for certain agendas. I mean, they're not going to let any good tragedy go to waste, as we've heard spoken from the podium at, you know, these big world summits, right?
My insurance denied my MRI because I didn't have 6 weeks of physical therapy.
I had another patient come in and share with me that United denied her inpatient stay.
I actually read this morning about a bill that's being proposed to be passed to give AI the ability to prescribe medications. I mean, yes, I know we're headed in that direction eventually. Doesn't that seem just a little bit dangerous?
Like, I'm in so much pain. I was trying to tell the doctor that today, and I have to wait for insurance.
It was in reference to using AI to triage patients in the emergency department.
Hey, just a reminder that you can't fix understaffing and equipment that doesn't work with AI.
It seems there isn't an industry where AI isn't being used. CEOs claim that AI makes everything so much more efficient, when the reality is they're just saving money because they don't have to pay as many human workers, and therefore the CEOs pocket that savings. When I was making the video about Palantir, I came across something that shocked me. Executives were bragging about how their AI agents were transforming insurance underwriting. Underwriting being the process of where these companies effectively assess your risk and decide if they want to offer you some type of coverage or not. What used to take humans 2 weeks to decide now only takes AI 3 hours. Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, said something that should terrify all of us. They're now using their AI to process claims and call for prior authorization. Then he said this.
There's places you would use certain models but not others. How do you bring that back to your corpus of truth to understand in a lethal context who dies and who doesn't? And you have very similar use cases in underwriting and in healthcare.
He's referring to an AI deciding who gets treatment and who doesn't. After making that video, I couldn't stop thinking about what Alex Karp had said, and so I wanted to look at the healthcare industry more. How are they actually using artificial intelligence? It's darker than what I thought. Insurance providers are using AI to assess you and provide you with some type of policy, but they're also using AI to set the price. And then when you actually need care and you go to use the insurance you've been paying for, they use another AI to effectively determine if it's medically necessary, whether they will approve your claim or not. And according to multiple lawsuits and investigations, these AIs are designed to do one thing: deny as much as possible. Let me tell you about Gene Locken. Gene was 91 when he fell and fractured his leg. His doctors said he needed months of rehabilitation. After just 2.5 weeks, United Healthcare cut off his coverage. The AI had decided he'd had enough care. His family was forced to pay $14,000 a month out of pocket while fighting for the decision. Gene never saw the resolution of this case, but according to multiple lawsuits, this isn't a glitch. This is how the system was designed.
He states that it's not medically necessary treatment.
That was an internal phone call between two United Healthcare workers. They're laughing about denying someone's insurance claim. We're ProPublica, a nonprofit newsroom, and we investigated. The person they're laughing about is Chris McNaughton. He was in college when he was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, a chronic autoimmune disease. It took him a really long time to find meds that put his disease into remission. But when he finally did, United flagged Chris's case as a high-dollar account. Ultimately, United said it wouldn't pay for his medicine because it was not medically necessary.
Think about what's happening here. A machine is looking at our data to assess our risk to the company. Then another machine is setting us a price for this policy, effectively using AI dynamic pricing. Then another machine determines, is the treatment prescribed by our doctor medically necessary? And if not, then it effectively denies it. And according to Palantir's own CEO, somewhere in that corpus of truth, the AI is determining who lives and who doesn't. Before you receive any type of treatment, you need what is known as a prior authorization. Healthcare insurers claim this is a way for them to make sure doctors aren't prescribing something you don't need or some type of treatment that's not necessary. Yet doctors and physicians in the industry claim this is just a denial machine.
Let me read you an insurance denial letter that I just got. Use of the requested drug is only approved for the treatment of certain medical conditions. Your doctor has not indicated that you have a diagnosis of either mild to moderate atopic dermatitis that affects less than 20% of your body. Let me go to her notes. My note. In my note, diagnosis, atopic dermatitis, total body surface area, 10%. Do you and I agree that that's less than 20%? The denial letter says that I did not document that. So clearly, insurance companies are not reading my notes.
So here's how it actually works. Your doctor submits a request, but it doesn't go to a medical professional right away. It goes to an AI. This AI pulls from years of data on millions of other patients. It reviews your medical information submitted by your doctor. Then it makes a decision on whether or not the medical treatment suggested by your doctor is medically necessary. Your doctor could recommend 42 days in a rehabilitation center, whereas the AI, based on all of its data and predictions, determines that you actually only need 14 days in rehabilitation to recover.
I had another patient come in and share with me that United denied her inpatient stay. One of the criteria that this insurance company used to decide whether or not to accept or deny this request was whether it's medically necessary. And
so just to cut that one short, it's very interesting, the connection between AI and the medical industry. And do you guys see some of the significance there when AI starts making life or death decisions for patients all around the United States and the world?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Pretty scary.
Did you know that there's a recent break in the Epstein case? Names have been dropped. Jeremiah, check this out.
There is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada.
And I want to point out here that the name, as you see there, it says Jeff Staley. It's Jess Staley, Jes Staley, an American banker. And it's one of the first names thrown out there outside of Prince Andrew, which he has also hinted at in this whole thing when he just mentioned all the different high-profile individuals connected to this. Many different billionaires. One out of Canada. And this comes after Kash Patel said that no one had individuals trafficked to them. He basically lied to our faces, boldly, Kash Patel did, trying to protect pedos. Anyone on board with that can just bounce from being around me. It shows your true colors. You'll tell them by their fruits. But names are starting to get dropped here. Major players at positions. It seems like it's only a matter of time now before the rest of these names start to spell out, some of which we already know. Like I said, Prince Andrew, and some others you could probably easily figure out by the position and how they're described.
Now, just the timing of all of this, I think, is very interesting. As we've discussed in numerous Skiba News Nation episodes, it's oftentimes like juggling too many balls. All of these different conspiracies and topics and world events and political moves and chess piece jargon, all of this is overwhelming. And so as you see big attention-grabbing moments, pay attention to what else is happening, and oftentimes you'll see what you're being distracted from. And in upcoming days, something to pay attention to is Netanyahu's presence in the US to speak this week. Check out this clip.
Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrives in the U.S. today. If you get a chance, look at his flight path across where he goes along the Mediterranean because he doesn't want to cross the airspace of any European country in fear that somehow or other they'll intercept his jet and force it to land and arrest him. Well, he's going to address the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow and meet with President Trump on Monday.
A Houthi drone injured more than 20 people in the Israeli resort town of Eilat yesterday. Israel's defense minister is promising devastating response. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
The drone, videotaped from multiple angles on social media, slipped through Israeli defenses and left at least 22 people wounded, 2 seriously. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the Houthi terrorists refused to learn from Iran, Lebanon, and Gaza and will learn the hard way. Whoever harms Israel will be harmed sevenfold. Before leaving for New York to address the UN General Assembly, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a message to the people of Israel and denounced those calling for a Palestinian state.
At the UN General Assembly, I will speak our truth, the citizens of Israel, the truth of the IDF soldiers of our country. I will denounce those leaders who, instead of denouncing the murderers, rapists, and child burners, want to give them a state in the heart of the land of Israel. This will not happen.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told CBS News that the declaration stopped the ceasefire hostage negotiations.
It actually derailed, it made talks that were going on. It made it even harder to get Hamas to enter into concessions that might have brought this to an end.
After President Trump's speech at the UN on Tuesday, he met with Arab and Muslim leaders. He presented a plan to end the war in Gaza and reportedly said he would stop Israel from declaring sovereignty over the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria. Oren Seliger of the Yesa Council, a group representing communities in Judea and Samaria, told CBN News that declaring sovereignty is a way to stop a Palestinian state.
We have to basically end that dream and end that fantasy. The way to do that is to make it clear that we are here and we are here to stay. We do that by declaring sovereignty on Judea and Samaria.
Now all eyes are on Netanyahu's speech on Friday and a planned meeting between President Trump and Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, I have to say the reason the talks, the so-called peace negotiations, stopped is because Hamas made a declaration that they would never, ever lay down their arms, that it was impossible for them to do that. That's what derailed it, and that's what led to the attack in Doha, because they said, well, we cannot do this. It's in our very founding charter. We want to eliminate Israel from the map. We want to wipe it out. That's the whole reason there's this cry from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That means no Jews. That means no Israel. And that means they can never lay down their arms. They will continue this fight again and again. They have promised October 7th over and over again. It's time for the world to believe that promise. It's time for all leaders to believe that promise and say, our real enemy here is not Israel, and this war is not Israel's fault. It's entirely the fault of Hamas. In other news, there's been another act of political violence in America. A gunman opened fire at an immigration facility in Dallas yesterday. George Thomas has that story and more from the CBN Newsroom.
All right. Shocking news as we see escalating tensions, this political rift, this divide. And a lot of people are very interested in where America's heading politically, religiously, with this whole Turning Point USA that's going to take Generation X and millennials and take them, you know, much further towards the conservative side of things. And so somebody put out one final conspiratorial video I'll share with you guys, and then we'll wrap up our news segment with just one clip of something positive Charlie left us with. But this final coverage is regarding Erica, Charlie's wife, and I think what is fascinating here is the connections between her politically, Charlie and her politically, and the Trump administration, and just how much this woman, who is now going to be the head of Turning Point USA, has really been a prime candidate to step into this role to lead America's youth in a very powerful way. Check this out. I think just some of the elements of her connection are noteworthy because she is stepping into the role as the lead of Turning Point USA, And because of the momentous rise in popularity, over 30,000 plus chapters all around the U.S. applying for membership, people stirred to attend this big memorial in Arizona. I think it is significant, her role, because we could be looking at a future presidential candidate, female, figure who the populace could get behind. Do you get what I'm getting at, Jeremiah? You think she could run in a few years?
Yeah, Lindsay showed me a photo of, it said for the next 2 terms it'd be Vance and then Erica Kirk were the next people. And it's crazy, the day before he was shot, don't know why I was thinking this, but I was like, who's our generation's president? And the top person was Charlie Kirk. And then it happened, but interesting.
Wow. Wow. Well, anyways, on a one final lighter note to leave us off with, this is the reason homeschool kids will survive. Check this out. Tidbits of wisdom Charlie Kirk left us with is this endearing concept of the value of weird homeschool kids, right?
Quote, weird? No. Homeschool kids are wise. They're going to be more polite, smarter, wiser, happier, more direction, more purpose, less corrupted, more understanding, more battle ready, better prepared, less confused, more biblical, more grounded, more Christ-like. If you are homeschool your kids if you can. Homeschool your kids. If they're scorning you or they're saying bad things to you, blessed are you who are persecuted in my name, it says James 1:5. The homeschool kids, they're going to be the ones that are going to be running society. My money's on the homeschool kids. By the way, it used to be, homeschool kids were quote-unquote weird.
Now, if you like this kind of stuff that we're covering, there's going to be more, and all the minds are getting together at TrutherCon 2025, guys, so make sure to grab your tickets today. All right, Jeremiah, Opa, that's all the news for this week. I know it's a long segment, but there's so much going on, so we're going to try to cram through it all, and I'm really looking forward to Opa's Corner and Histories Mysteries, guys, so don't go anywhere.
Yeah, thanks for another great current news as always. Now a quick look at my new book, Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not.
Something in the mail today. Can I open it up? See what it is? Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. It's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. Look at those.
Here they are.
To Danny's story.
So now if you guys buy this in our Babylon Rising bookstore, you get a free signed copy for the same price. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys want a special edition of the book, go there.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
It's about that time for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it! You're a loony.
According to FBI statistics, most bank robberies occur on Fridays. Believe it or not. Scientists say dogs are entering a third wave of domestication adapting to be calmer and more social to fit modern urban lifestyles. Believe it or not. A new study suggests regular napping may slow brain aging by up to 6.5 years. Believe it or not. In parts of New Zealand, public parks and sidewalks double as orchards where anyone can pick fresh fruit for free. Believe it or not. Humans share 80% of their genetic sequence with cows. Believe it or not. Refried beans aren't fried twice. The name comes from the Spanish refritos, meaning well fried, not fried again. Believe it or not.
Refritos.
Paul Merston, the cat, former UK chief mouser, came out of retirement and has gone back to work, this time in Bermuda. Believe it or not. Saying please and thank you to ChatGPT costs millions of dollars in electricity. Believe it or not. Researchers in Japan have created a biodegradable plastic that dissolves in seawaters within hours and decomposes in soil in just 10 days. Believe it or not. When stressed, plants like tomatoes and tobacco emit ultrasonic pops and click sounds that we can't hear, but animals and insects can. Believe it or not. Grass and moss-covered roofs, first engineered by the Vikings, are used in Norway to help retain heat. Believe it or not. Hawaiian Punch was created in 1934 as Leo's Hawaiian Punch, later changed to Hawaiian Punch, and was originally made to be a tropical syrup for flavoring ice cream. Believe it or not. Lamborghini and Silver Cross unveiled a $5,165 luxury super stroller, blending style and all-terrain performance. Believe it or not. Extreme heat may speed up biological aging in older adults, with those in hotter regions aging up to 14 months faster. Believe it or not. Fact: the Earth is 71% water. Fact: none of it is carbonated. Therefore, absolutely, undeniably, fact: the Earth is flat. Believe it or not.
That's a good point.
In 1965, NASA quietly removed a set of documents from its public archives. They weren't about rockets. They weren't about space. They were about Antarctica. The files described something called anomalous readings, warm water lakes buried under miles of ice, strange magnetic distortions that threw off compasses, and photographs of landscapes that didn't match later satellite maps. Within months, the documents vanished. No explanation, no trace, just gone. Now here's where it gets strange. In the same year those files disappeared, the US military ended its last public expeditions to Antarctica. And soon after, the Antarctic Treaty was strengthened to make sure no independent nation, not even billionaires with private fleets, could explore freely. Think about that. The most lifeless, frozen desert on Earth suddenly became the most restricted zone on the planet. Why? We're told it's to protect the environment, but let me ask you, when have world superpowers ever cared about the environment more than control? Here's a detail they don't teach in school. In 2009, scientists with Project Icebridge flew over Antarctica using radar to map the ground beneath the ice. Their findings didn't match the official maps drawn decades earlier. Massive mountain ranges appeared where there should have been flat ground. Lakes of liquid water were detected thousands of feet below, where the temperature should make that impossible. Some researchers even admitted the continent's magnetic field behaved like no other place on Earth. But instead of investigating further, data was locked down. The public never saw the raw results. And the few charts released, they don't line up with the older records from before the censorship began. Now ask yourself, if Earth were truly a spinning globe, why would Antarctica hold so many secrets? But if Earth is flat and Antarctica is not the bottom of the ball but the outermost boundary, suddenly everything makes sense. The missing documents, the contradictory maps, the locked down data, it all points to one conclusion. They aren't protecting Antarctica from us, they're protecting what lies beyond it. And maybe that's why NASA deleted those files, because the truth about Antarctica isn't about penguins. It's about the shape of our world and the limits of where we're allowed to go. So here's the real question. What did those missing pages show that was so dangerous? Entire nations agreed to bury it forever. This is for entertainment purposes.
I can't believe I fell for that scam. Face it, Kevin. You're a Band-Aid. You were bound to get ripped off. I love you. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Savor the moment, Bernice. I think it's safe to say Larry liked cheese just a little more than the rest of us. Milo dreamed that someday, somehow, he was going to be a bad dog. So, we agreed. Free will exists, unless there are treats. May 14th, 1804. The Lewis, Clark, and Filbert expedition begins its historic 8,000-mile journey. Are we there yet? Less than 100 miles later, Filbert mysteriously disappears. That's the dentist's pumpkin. It's called eggnog? It's delicious. Did the kids help you make it? Couldn't have done without them. Oh, hey, fantastic party, Trixie. Fantastic. Say, do you mind telling me which way to the yard? Oh, Ginger, you look absolutely stunning. And whatever you rolled in, it sure does stink. When snakes try to chew gum and crawl at the same time. Mayday! Mayday! This is Flight 97. I'm in trouble. My second engine's on fire, my landing gear's jammed, and my worthless co-pilot's frozen. Dinosaur pranks. Excuse me a sec. I want to check on how many hits I got on my website. These trending searches point to a major spike in catnip use. Where to score munchies at 3 a.m. Why can't cats and mice be friends, man? Dude, where's my paw? Zero. Yours says 0 too? These Fitbits are worthless. It was then that Ed realized he mistakenly purchased a heavy metal detector. Ozzy? According to the instructions, we can't drive faster than 3 miles per hour or have a total passenger weight over 150 pounds while the spare is being used. Weird Al Yankovic. Might as well face it, I'm addicted to bugs. There was a slight mishap while blackening your catfish. It should be out shortly.
It's a blackface.
Early chemists described the first dirt molecule. Periodic tables. Dirt. DE. I hope this doesn't turn into a tradition. Pharmacy. We've made it quite simple for you. At breakfast, eat Mr. Cookie's legs. At lunch, eat his stomach. At dinner, his arms. And at bedtime, eat his head. Turner's Shoe Repair. Dan's Plumbing. Frank started to get a funny feeling that his doctor was a quack. Contrary to legend, Achilles' heel's weakness was something quite different. Pillage the armory next. Right, Achilles? Hey, where's Achilles? Humans. Uh-oh. This week, I'll show you how to take over a dog's bed. You guys, it's so easy. I wish you didn't turn this into content. Dolly, pardon. Joe, it's for you. Is it a last-minute reprieve? Wait, my phone's not working. I thought you were taking me somewhere that has good Wi-Fi. I said I was taking you to a huge hotspot. It was finally time to find out who was better, the overs or the unders. Hello? Pine Grove Elementary? Could you tell Miss Pritchard to come over to Lakeview Veterinarian Clinic right away? At the old Spider's home, Say, I ever tell you fellers about the time back in '54 when I was out on my web and a fly flew right down my throat? Only about 900 times. Did you know that Damn It I'm Mad spelled backwards is Damn It I'm Mad? That awkward moment when a zombie looking for brains walks right past you. And that concludes another Opa's Corner.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat er nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut. Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat er nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Are you a content creator, podcaster, or show host trying to do it all on your own? Booking guests, moderating chats, creating timestamps, and scheduling interviews? It's exhausting. That's where Kristen and Fellow Helper Agency comes in. Kristen is the ultimate behind-the-scenes pro. She makes sure your show runs smooth from start to finish. Whether it's securing an amazing guest, keeping your community engaged, or handling the scheduling chaos, you can count on her. Imagine focusing on creating great content while Kristen takes care of all the rest. Professional, reliable, and trusted. If you're serious about growing your show and building your audience, you need Kristen on your team. Visit fellowhelperagency.com today because the right help changes everything. It's time for an all-new Histories Mysteries. So today for Histories Mysteries, we're going to be going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and it's kind of a new social media trend. I don't know if it's really new, but it's new because it's on social media, and it's pretending to be disabled when you're not. And when people see that opportunity, they think, hey, I can make money off this. And we're going to be exposing it, and then we're going to be talking about the roots about it. So check out this first clip.
For a long time, having a disability was just that, a curse. Fortunately, in today's world, they're more popular than ever.
Today we're putting him in this suitcase and shipping him to Paris.
Giving people the ability to make real careers posting content on the internet. But there's still one big problem.
Using a Down syndrome filter to fake a disability.
It's also gotten a lot easier to fake it, and the rewards for doing it successfully can be massive.
So you're the bogus beggar guy that makes $100,000 a year, right?
She raised over $37,000 on a GoFundMe page.
$37,000. How was she able to get this money?
That I thought she had passed away.
And by now there's been plenty of examples of people trying this, only to realize that the attention might not be the best thing for this kind of scheme.
I was literally bullied off the internet.
How would you define the term pancreatic cancer?
Ugly. She literally stole this photo, hoping that nobody would ever know.
Just take a look at the case of Emerald Rose, aka Ticks and Roses, a TikToker who gained over 500,000 followers for pretending to have the worst case of Tourette's ever documented.
Jump into hell. Oh god. Oh, it's in my hair.
This version's got symptoms like hallucinations.
What's that? What's that? It's makeup. Calm down.
Hair loss, sudden fits of rage, and a few actual Tourette's symptoms. They quickly surpass 500,000 followers on TikTok and rake in thousands from donations, an uptick in sales for their yarn dyeing business, and last but not least, Tourette's-themed merch with a pagan twist. Just a witch with tics. Hello, my name is Tourette's. I'm not possessed. I have Tourette's. Oddly enough, as their follower account increases, so does the absurdity of their tics.
Hello. Pick up.
People people with actual Tourette's start commenting.
Always try and give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, maybe they are not faking. But
it feels Hollywood.
Like, as people who live it, you're watching us right now, we look nothing like Ticks and Roses.
Beans, beans, beans.
They say that normally tics follow patterns, and generally don't manifest as whatever's most comically fitting for the moment.
Do you want a race? 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 Send me to Canada!
My least favorite, that
Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
is anytime I see an axolotl, I go, there's a fish on the floor.
There's a fish on the floor. There's a fish on the floor.
No, there's clearly something else wrong with this individual. So, some viewers start to do some digging into her business. What they find is shocking.
A simple way to enjoy the pink supermoon tonight is to charge a piece of rose quartz in the moonlight.
If you're needing to release a pain related to love, give that over to the stone and feel as the moon helps release those old wounds. You can also charge a piece to wear and take that energy of the pink moon with you.
Blessed be.
They find Emerald in tutorial videos, product demonstrations, and even live streams that are almost an hour long. Not a single tick for the entire duration.
Hello and happy pride to all of our pagans and witches that are in the community.
On stage, we got Eli Rose.
What's going on, Eli?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. When I catch you staring through the window, I want to pour the contents of your mind into a glass and drink you in. I want to hear your voice in my heartbeat. I thirst for your thoughts in the same way my lungs thirst for air. I want to swallow all of you and replace my blood with yours. Skin to skin contact just doesn't feel close enough. I want soul to soul. Because you are a masterpiece. Thank you.
No, thank you, Eli
Also,
Rose.
Emerald says they've had tics since they were 6 or 7.
So for me, my tics started when I was probably around 6 or 7.
Yet when viewers point this out, Emerald makes the claim that they can suppress the tics when concentrating on their
They
passion.
have been relatively minimal from then on. And about a year ago, I had gotten treatment for fibrosis.
The Tourette's community calls BS. Suppressing tics for an hour straight while talking, but that's not how it works.
If I can catch this tick, 'cause it's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah, once again, you can't really choose what tick you have at any given moment. It kind of just happens.
Now there's a lot of people accusing her of faking the disability. Emerald fires back with what she claims are receipts.
I did do some redactions for, personal safety reasons.
If you were to look for exactly a quarter of a second, these documents might look legit. But if you look any longer, you might catch a few problems with this letter. So someone takes a shot in the dark and reverse image searches the letterhead. And sure enough, the first result is a blank template that anyone can print out. But to many people, the most shocking part is the fact it mentions Huntington's disease, which is an illness characterized by the subject dying. The only piece of media online to back this up is an old video of Emerald talking about it.
Making the time I have meaning is what matters to me. I still fear for my loved ones and the effect that my decline will someday have on them. So yes, I have Huntington's disease, but Huntington's disease doesn't have me.
Oh boy, let's hope they're not lying about this one. Over on the dedicated Ticks and Roses subreddit, a user named Jade4101 makes a post claiming to be Emerald's sister. In summary, despite having a loving family that's nothing but supportive, Emerald decided to cut off all contact and hasn't spoken to them in years. As for the history of ailments, she never showed signs of having Tourette's as a kid, and they don't have Huntington's disease because you can pretty much only get it when you're old. Like her grandpa, who at the time of her making that video asking for donations, was dying from it. Well, that's not good. Presumably after finding out about the post, Emerald wipes every single social media account, and there's been no word from Emerald since then. Because on the internet, trying to come back from something like that isn't a good idea.
Now that was just the first video, and I think all these people have mental illness, at least that one in particular, because of the other they them kind of thing, but we'll just leave it at that. Now we're going to be talking about a streamer named Angel Hamilton who pretended to be in a wheelchair but got caught while he was on stream, so check this out.
Something Angel Hamilton, aka Zillion OP, learned the hard way after he was caught lying about being in a wheelchair for over a year.
Cancel culture threw me for such a loop.
seeing what happened to everybody that's out there. And
in 2011, after a car crash leaves him in a wheelchair, he starts streaming on Twitch to a handful of viewers. Then he decides to turn on his camera. People see his condition. A lot of people find it inspiring, and seeing this as a launch pad for his dream job, Zillion leans into it hard. Viewership skyrockets into the hundreds, and naturally, a lot of people donate out of sympathy.
Not to say that when I got a donation that I wouldn't do a wheelie every once in a while, and I definitely did wheelies on stream. I had fun in the chair.
Yeah.
There was a wheelchair fund.
Okay.
By the end of 2012, his stream becomes one of the most donation heavy on the platform, and there really is no reason yet to doubt his authenticity. That is, until 2013, when people start to point out red flags. Out of nowhere, Zillion's banned from his most played game, Diablo 3. And while it says officially he was banned for using a gold bot to farm gold, he denies having ever done such a thing, and blames it on another person using his account. Shortly thereafter, fans catch him in his first lie. He posts a screenshot of a stream where he forgets to close the gold bot. From here, it's all downhill. His Facebook is hacked by a former acquaintance who makes some apparent accusations about Zillion's disability. Messages like, "Don't get angry, Zillion. Just walk away from the computer for a minute. Did some squats tonight. My thighs are on fire." At first, fans dismiss it as trolling. Then, the unthinkable happens. Zillion's streaming as usual and announces he's taking a break.
I'll be back.
However, he forgets to change to the break screen, and onlookers witness a miracle.
Oh my god.
Zillion gets up from his chair and starts to walk to the bathroom. The chat goes ballistic. Did Zill just stand? I'm gonna say, it did look like he just stood up. In a desperate attempt to recover, Zillion turns the camera away from the empty wheelchair and replies, "No, I fell. I pushed off my chair and ate it." Then he goes for the oldest trick in the book. Effing dog. My dog dumped water on everything. I'm pissed and in pain. It hurts to breathe. I hit my side on the corner of the desk. I'm going to die for a few. I will try and be back later. Twitch cuts off their partnership and gives him a permanent ban, making an official statement calling his behavior truly reprehensible. The clip of him walking goes viral, reaching far outside of just his community. The people who were calling him a fraud before couldn't be happier. The Facebook hacker logs back into his account one final time to tell him he deserves what he has coming, and a streamer named Inigo starts dressing as Zillion and doing stunts in a wheelchair.
Oh my god, it's Zillion!
Since I haven't been getting any donations lately, I'm really hungry.
Don't fall again.
Oh, the dog on my internet? Alright, I'll do some wheelies.
I'm really short. I'm pretty sure you can just sit there. Oh god, there it goes.
People happen to come across him again in 2020, under a new name. It's Bluish, and he's even managed to secure a Twitch partnership, but not for long. The story has a brief resurgence. He decides he's had enough, and finally tries to give his side of the story.
You mentioned it that you were hunched over, like, so you actually did fall.
I fell on the other side of the desk.
It's hard to even tell what the truth is at this point, but at least he admits he could have done some things better.
Well, at the time of me starting my stream and becoming partnered, I was wheelchair bound and could not stand up.
And you were just, you screwed up by not updating people, which, yeah.
But yeah, I made it in the logs for sure. I did fall on the back side of my desk.
Mm-hmm.
When the camera actually went down is when I grabbed my desk and I hit the ground.
So you're saying that you didn't know that you were actually live when this happened?
Not repairing all of the damage, but it's something.
So, I mean, he didn't even know he was live when it happened. So he used it for viewership to get more people to watch him to further donate to whatever it is that he was doing. But this next one, let me start that again. Now, for our last case, we're going to be talking about a girl named Madison Russo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Her explanation for why she did it is going to blow your mind. So check this out.
However, that's far from the case for Madison Russo. In 2023, she showed the world just how far you can take a lie using nothing but the internet and some fake medical equipment.
That I thought she had passed away. My thinking is say a prayer for this young kid because she's going to have a lot of terrible consequences as a result of this.
She is Madison Russo, and this is my story.
It's 2022, and 19-year-old Madison Russo announces to the world that she has pancreatic cancer.
I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer at just 19 years old.
Not only are her chances of survival basically zero, but out of all pancreatic cancer cases, less than 0.1% happen in people under the age of 30. She posts about her GoFundMe online and immediately goes viral. But her historic run of bad luck doesn't end there, because the pancreatic cancer spreads to her bloodstream, introducing acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Wait, what is that? Oh my god.
It's not a tumor.
A tumor that is, quote,
the size of a football.
touchdown. She documents every moment on TikTok for the world to see, posting daily updates from chemo sessions, because despite these impossible odds, she wants to be a beacon of hope.
Before I even started chemo, I harvested my eggs.
You walk for 15 minutes and your body is like, nope, you can't do this, and you go home.
Her GoFundMe, Maddie's fight against pancreatic cancer, overflows with donations.
There were people that probably never heard of him that donated.
Even if I couldn't afford it, I was donating.
She does the rounds on various podcasts.
Yeah, when I can, like, it truly changes you. Like, I feel like I'm a whole different person than from when I was, you know, before February. Like,
and even gets invited to speak at a gala on behalf of the National Pancreas Foundation. Fast forward, she's now, how many rounds?
I'm too sick from treatment where I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything.
And yeah, despite being halfway through treatment, she still is an inspiration to many. Running every morning, working a job, maintaining her scholarship with a 4.0 GPA, and looks like she's got this thing handled. Around this time is when people start to question her story.
Statistically speaking, about 90% of pancreatic patients are literally over the age of 65.
For one, how is she keeping all that hair?
I wanted to share was how I've been keeping my hair during treatment with chemo and radiation. So here's the packaging of that. You just order it online. Comes with like a 3-month.
That's right. Apparently, to prevent hair loss during chemotherapy, you could just use normal balding treatment. Only problem is a quick Google search will tell you that's not true. And that's just one of the holes in her story. To give further proof, she posts this picture of hair clippings, which she's saying is the hair that fell out.
Like pieces were like coming out as I was brushing my hair.
Eventually, medical experts jump in when she posts this picture. Undergoing chemo. First, the port on her chest is in the wrong position. And is that Scotch tape? Whoever this doctor is, they have sinister plans for Maddie. So they call all around, searching all the books, trying to find out where she's getting treatment, so they can get this doctor. They find out that Maddie hasn't checked in to any of them. But why would she be lying about this?
As you can see, it raised nearly $38,000 from more than 400 donors.
Oh, they call the authorities, and Maddie's promptly arrested outside of class.
On Monday, January 23rd, the Eldridge Police Department arrested Russo for theft by means of deception, which is a Class C felony.
Officers also raid her apartment, where they find medical equipment, wigs, and banknotes showing she bought a car with the money. Since she's such a big name in the cancer community, her story immediately goes viral, and her mugshot goes around everywhere.
But this particular story is unlike anything else I have ever seen.
If you look at me, you would never know that I am sick.
You want attention? You make up a story. You get attention. People send you money.
Russo used other social media platforms like Facebook to get the message out about her supposed fight.
When GoFundMe hears about it, they refund all the donations, subsequently notifying her 400+ donors about what's going on. They say they have a zero-tolerance policy for faking cancer.
I didn't donate that much, but it's like, you do what you can and you're just like shocked.
I thought she had passed away.
The rest of the internet starts looking into it, and they find a whole bunch of other stuff.
Team Maddie cancer, her fluids and meds making her feel like Superwoman again. That is a European outlet. There's that damn wig again. And the poor innocent dog she keeps putting in this mess. This picture alone should put her in jail. She took this picture, drained from chemo era. This was on her TikTok. Drained from chemo era. Somebody reverse image searched it and found an actual person with cancer. This is her just at Christmas. Did she just stroll into CVS and buy all this crap she didn't actually need and then like spend, how much time did she spend placing it just so and putting all this tape on herself? Like,
find like any plot holes? I don't know how it went on for this long.
It's now October 2023. Maddie's back in the news.
It's just hard for me to fathom what was going through your mind.
This time she's forced to look the people she's affected in the eyes.
She preyed on my emotions and my giving nature. She used my husband's legacy and our fund to better her story and to lend legitimacy to her fake cancer story. And I brought a sweatshirt from our last year's fundraiser, and it has her name all over all of our merchandise from last year.
Madison manipulated, lied, and let these patients willingly pull the Band-Aid off their wounds one more time in the name of supporting a fellow patient. Now here's my ask from the court. Madison to be sentenced to time in a long probation that includes community service in the cancer world, a world she obviously has no respect or compassion for. I disagree with you when you said that this could be a deterrent. A slap on the wrist is not a deterrent to others. It's a green light. It's an absolute green light. Madison needs to remember karma's real and can be brutal. Cancer is real and is brutal.
She even has a statement prepared to explain herself, claiming none of this was for money or attention. It was all just to bring her family back together.
This experience has been by far one of the most difficult things to navigate in my life. It has been very scary and challenging in more ways than one. I fully acknowledge that what I did was wrong, and I am incredibly sorry. If there was anything I could do to take it back, I would. The reality is that I can't. I didn't do this for money or greed. I didn't do this for attention. I did this in an attempt to try and get my family back together.
Huh?
I thought if I said what I said, it would make everybody pull together.
A lot of the victims are furious.
To say that you did this because you were trying to get your family back together is such a cop-out. It's such a lie. I cannot believe that she's spending time out of jail and prison after stealing so much money, faking diagnoses. There was one girl that actually did die from cancer, and she faked this cancer to this friend, and this friend was comforting her. As this friend, Charlie, was dying on her deathbed, she was comforting Maddie.
In the end, Maddie's sentenced to 3 years probation, 100 hours of community service, and to repay the $39,000. There's a surprising amount that say they don't want to take away a chunk of her life just because of a slip-up when she's a teenager. But the cancer community as a whole sees her actions as unforgivable. She essentially took away credibility from people who actually need donations. I think if there's one thing we can all learn from this, is that if you want something on the internet, all you have to do is ask.
And, you know, I hope all those victims got their money back, but let's not forget the #1 scammer of faking disabilities of all time. You know her and you know her well. Here's a quick flashback to when we had Owen Benjamin on. So kind of off topic, last weekend me and my girlfriend were traveling to go to Waco, and I started telling her about this thing that I've always felt since I was a little kid, and that's that Helen Keller was a fraud, and I've always thought that. And I started explaining it to her, and then she was like, oh my god, she is a fraud. And so we started looking up videos, and you popped up, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So tell me what you think about Helen Keller.
It's literally, if you look back at it, not from the eyes of a child when you were lied to about Helen Keller, with adult eyes, and you watch videos of Helen Keller, it is literally worse than a Mad TV sketch.
Yeah, it is so fake.
And to say that she has a British accent. So the story goes that she was from Alabama, and she lost her hearing and sight when she was 6 months old. So, but she's like, it is not blindness. Where the fuck did she get a British accent, you know?
It is not blindness,
And then you just see this little grabber doing this to her hand, and she's like,
But even tell her who you are, if she knows you, if she knows her old friend, Polly Thompson. Polly has been with Helen Keller 40 years. For nearly half of these, she has been Helen's only companion, Helen's eyes and ears upon the world.
She was also blind, by the way.
Helen
Look
by
it
a
up.
finger system in which each letter has a sign, like this. With the outer world, with Polly, with Anne, the part-time helper, with everyone she encounters. With her hand, she reads Anne's lips. She answers with her voice. It is an unnatural voice, and it is her great sorrow. For all her years of effort, Helen has never learned to speak clearly. This isn't strange, for since she was a baby, she has not heard a word spoken, nor seen lips forming one.
and she just keeps rubbing children's faces and stuff. They had her flying an airplane.
Isn't everyone flying these days? Helen knows the scene is absurd, and her mother, brother, and Anne Sullivan consider the flight hazardous. Helen Keller herself has never feared physical action. As a child, she learned to dive into the ocean with a rope about her waist, tied to a stake on the shore. She has enjoyed tobogganing, dropping down steep New England slopes. And she knows, too, that if it will serve to rouse the public interest in the capabilities of the blind, almost anything she can do to get attention will be justified. But the airplane ride itself, though pointless, thrills the onlookers. Helen is in the air for half an hour and says she feels more physical freedom than ever in her life. Only later does she learn that in this landing, she and the pilot are in genuine danger of motor failure.
How would she even know that?
Helen's good humor is taxed much more than her courage. There will be scenes in which she dresses herself just to show the public that she can, and in which she sleeps to prove to the curious that she closes her eyes.
And if you have any connection whatsoever to special needs or high needs people, that isn't, like, a deaf and blind person doesn't learn anything really. Like, not trying to be a dick, but the ability to comprehend anything goes down drastically. You don't just teach someone by doing this to talk. That's like, so there's a lot of examples of people that lose their sight and hearing at like 8, 10, 15. and it doesn't go up for them. So at most she had the comprehension of a 6-month-old. It's fucking retarded. They had her writing books about eugenics and socialism.
Critics of Helen Keller point to one notable exception in her advocacy for people with disabilities. She was once a supporter of eugenics, a now reviled school of thought that sought to improve human populations by breeding out certain traits, like, for example, certain disabilities.
That's absolutely true. She did write about eugenics.
You know that? So what they did the same thing with Stephen Hawking, which was a dummy for, I don't know how they did it, but that guy was not a real guy. So he had a disease that kills everyone within 5 years. He lived with it for 50 years and disproved God with a computer voice.
We are each free to believe what we want. And it's my view that the simplest explanation is, there is no God. No one created the universe, and no one directs our fate. This leads me to a profound realization. There is probably no heaven, and no afterlife either. We have this one life to appreciate the grand design of the universe. And for that, I am extremely grateful.
All right. So what they do is they get a mouthpiece, like Helen Keller. You get an emotional hook in someone. Oh, she overcame so much. She's a true victim. Look at her smiling. She's like, and then so people have this like thing where you can't criticize someone who's like grotesquely ugly or crippled. That's why I make fun of cripples and Jews and blacks and everything, because it's a smokescreen. They use it all the time to hide little poison pills in society. So you have Stephen Hawking is like, and all he can do is this. And so because of that, not despite of that, because of that, people listen to his thoughts about God. I'm like, his brain doesn't function. You have ALS, your neurological system is not functional. Why would you listen to anyone who's like this in a wheelchair about the nature of God? They don't know the nature of their pants. And he's like, God is.
Oh God. That might be our thumbnail right there.
Yeah, and Helen Keller's the same way. So someone who hasn't seen or heard anything, all she's felt is this on her hand.
Tickling, pretty much, on your palm.
Yeah, so then they use that empathy like as a weapon. So people are like, oh, sucks to be Helen Keller. I'm like, no. Put her in a well, you know? And it sounds like I'm being cold, but it's actually a defense mechanism for society. Because if everyone's like, oh, so sad, then she's like, we need to give women the right to vote, you know, and everybody's like,
yeah, she went to Harvard. Really?
Oh, dude, it's so stupid. She wrote books. She had the mind of a and by the way, I don't think it was real at all. I think she was like an actress from England.
Oh, yeah.
She had a British accent. It's like, it's mind-blowingly stupid. She's like, it's not blindness that troubles me. And you're like, okay, so the character they did is it's like, okay, you have to like overemphasize your mouth because she must have been hot but she's British. She's a Brit. I'm glad that you see through Helen Keller. I'm an Helen Keller denier.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, kind of talking of Helen Keller, back to the kind of the victim consciousness of our current culture. It's almost like in school they taught us all of our heroes had these disabilities, or they're a racial minority group, or they have some kind of mental issue or whatever. And so now today, kind of the trans community and all these people coming out claiming victimhood is like the main. It's the way you rise to power in our system today, and it's kind of set up by all of our heroes we were taught about in school.
Dude, that's
like
so funny, man. What if it was unintentional? What if somebody was trying to do a good job and like they had like a blind nephew and they're like, it's Blind Man, you know, and everybody's like, oh, and then people grow up and they're like competing over who's a bigger victim. That's hilarious. Like someone's like running for Senate. It's like, I just had a stroke.
Hi, good night, everybody. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush 2 words together.
I mean, if they want the people that we put in charge of us to be these really cucked to the system types that are going to follow all these agendas, it makes sense that they've groomed us to all have victim consciousness. But I mean, you see it with the whole like giving minority groups preference in colleges and in jobs, and oh, we have to have every diverse group represented in our business, and it's like our whole culture is based around that now, and it's crazy.
It's in every commercial. So yeah, just a quick flashback. You know, it's I used that for my presentation that I gave a couple weekends ago, and if you want to check that full presentation out, it's on Patreon, and you can check out the whole thing in its entirety, and I highly recommend it. But just based on the Helen Keller story, let's be real. We all know why Helen Keller couldn't have flown an airplane. Because she was a woman. That's a joke. No. But what are your thoughts about all this, Jake?
Even makes it all the more important how Charlie Kirk's widow is being selected as the next spokesperson of America. And so what is spoken through her is to be determined, but it's very interesting the connection between these figures throughout history that are propped up, these victims that have had these hurts and these terrible things that they've overcome, and these are the ones that seem throughout history to be selected as these pioneers for whatever current agenda or the current thing is, and whether it's gonna be good or bad to be determined, but definitely I see a connection there in terms of the victimhood being used to push a message.
Well, because of her, these other people were able to commit these scams so easily, because that's when the victim consciousness started. And I think that's a very big part of it. And, you know, did you know that she had 160 IQ? That's what it says on Wikipedia. How retarded is that?
That's really high. How would you determine that accurately? I wonder, like, how they actually did that, you know, with their way of communicating.
That's what I'm saying. I pretty much disproved the whole Helen Keller story, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done a couple weekends ago. What are your thoughts, Opa?
Oh gosh, you know, she's 160 IQ. Wow. Right. How do they measure that?
Yeah. Anyways, I got one more clip for you guys, and it's a all new volume of Please Excuse My Sense of Humor, so check it out. That's weak.
Because it's not tall enough, this thing is here.
Hello, sir. How are you? Okay. Today?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I'm trying to get a petition going. I'm trying to get Jews to apologize for killing Jesus. So I'm trying to get as many signatures as I can.
I'm sorry.
What
did you say?
I'm trying to get Jews, yiddle diddles, Hebrews to apologize.
You know what? You're in a Jewish market.
Yeah, I came to find them. They killed Jesus.
I'm sorry. What is this?
Are you sorry? That's great. If you're going to sign this.
No, I did not kill Jesus.
Yeah, but, I mean, your people did.
Are you for real here?
I mean,
what are you doing in a Jewish market here, talking to Jews this way?
How do you talk like that? Why do all you guys talk like such victims? Like that's what you sound like all the time. All the time.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk to you.
All right, fair enough.
Jesus.
Here, by the way, we're giving away across the street 50% off rhinoplasties. Nose job.
Get out of here. Get away from me.
Really? You don't want 50% off?
No, I don't.
What the f is going on here?
Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy? Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, any comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? It's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
He's permanently surprised. Look at him. He's surprised about everything. Look, oh my, look, permanent surprise.
You're in a school zone. You're going 50 and a 20. 50 miles an hour and a 20.
The journey is usually the part that you remember anyways.
I'm married, and I used to be a smoker.
But I hope you guys enjoyed my Please Excuse My Sense of Humor, and that's all I got. You got some memes for me, Jake?
Yeah. All right, check this out.
All right, meet me up. Meet me up.
It's the Feast of Trumpets. I saw that footage you had, Jeremiah. That is hilarious. I loved when you did the one with the old sax.
I didn't do that. It's funny because it's like becoming a Rickroll. That's like my only video that's gotten kind of viral. It's so funny.
I hope it blows up, man. It's hilarious. Yeah, hey, I also think all of the you know, the Nazi and anti-Semitic like jokes that we're seeing come out of this. Not that we are, you know, anti-Semitic, but apparently the French media compared Charlie Kirk Memorial to a Nazi rally and the assassination to Reichstagsfire. Okay. You know, the sheer amount of teachers celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination should really make every parent in America consider homeschooling their children, unless you have a good teacher like Lindsay.
Texas is pretty good. I will say Texas is pretty good.
Yeah, here's one. Last one. Ban guns, or we'll keep trying to murder you with them.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep, pretty much. All right, guys, that's all the news and memes for this week.
All right, thanks, Jake, for another great current news and memes as always. Open, thank you for another great Opus Corner, and I hope you enjoyed today's Histories, Mysteries, and my sick sense of humor. Stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned. If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Ross Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.